Today I'm talking to Craig Rispin, a futurist. So hello, Craig.
Hi, how are you?
I'm good, thank you. So a futurist, come on, what's a futurist? And more importantly, how can we become one?
Well, being a futurist is actually a real job. You know, most people don't think it's a real job, but then our professional association, the World Future Society, WFS,
Yeah.
and it has 20,000 members worldwide.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
So what about, for those of us in business, you know, I know you're in business also, what can we do? How can we take some of the magic, if you like, of a futurist and apply them in our work?
Well, you have to think like a futurist.
Okay.
And a futurist is the opposite of a historian. And I have to say that, you know, historians look to the past, and many times business people look in a rearview mirror. They don't
Okay.
look forward. And so there's a couple techniques that futurists have developed over the decades. And you may have heard of them or not quite sure what they are,
Right.
but I'll give you three really simple ones.
Fantastic.
Yeah. The first one is environmental scanning.
Environmental scanning.
Yes,
Okay.
it's not anything to do with the environment. It's like what's happening around me,
Right.
not what's happening in my industry, what might just be over the horizon. And there's all sorts of great tools that you could use. And it used to be that we would have undergraduates at university. They would cut out magazine articles and
Yep.
newspaper articles and connect them with yellow string and red string to show hyperlinks.
Right.
That sounds a lot like the internet, doesn't
does,
it?
doesn't
Yeah,
it?
so now what you can do, you can go to Google, and Google has a thing called Google Trends.
Right.
And you can put in any topic or your competitor or what things you want to track, and it will track how things are going with using the same technique, environmental
Fantastic.
scanning, yes,
Okay.
and it's a free tool.
And so for someone in business, how often, let's say they're trying to maybe work out where their industry is going, would they be going into Google Trends on a regular basis, weekly, daily, or?
Well, it's up to them. You know, how much do they want to invest in
Yeah,
their
okay,
future?
fine.
You know, but futurists get together. We have barbecues every month, and
Right.
we see how things are going, and that's a lot of fun. And
Okay.
we chat about things. So you know, a lot of companies they'll look at it maybe weekly if they're very, very forward focused and
Yep.
focused on innovation. But I find a lot of companies they do it once a month. And it keeps them on track to make sure that they're not trying to do something that's going to be out of date very quickly.
Yeah, okay.
Yes.
So next point.
Yes. Well, after you do your environmental scanning, the next big thing that futurists do is they classify these trends into major driving forces, and they do something called scenario planning. You may have
Okay.
heard of scenario planning.
Yeah.
You may have heard of worst case scenario.
Yeah, yeah.
Yes. And the military used this for decades, and now governments and big think tanks have used it. And you take all these driving forces and you put them into categories. And you might ask yourself, in the future, for instance, do we think that we'll be connecting to the internet more on desktop computers or more on mobile devices?
Yep.
And you can see where we're going with that probably, Robert,
Yep,
can't
yep,
you? So you
yep.
know that we're going to be connected more on mobile devices.
Yep.
So you would ask yourself, that's a driving force. How would it affect my business?
Yeah, okay.
Right? And you put that into quadrants essentially, and it's very simple. You could go to Wikipedia and look up scenario planning, and there's some great resources there.
Okay,
Yes.
fantastic. All right, so we've looked at kind of planning the future, we've looked
Yes.
at scenario planning, environmental, sorry, what was the phrase again? The first one?
Yeah, environmental scanning.
Environmental
yeah,
scanning, okay.
Yeah, and
So-
scenario planning.
Okay,
yes.
third point?
Well, a great one that was developed by John Glenn, not the same one that went to the moon, but a great tool is the Futures Wheel.
Okay.
And the Futures Wheel talks about impacts, all right? And so what you do is you put your business in a center wheel. It's a bit like future mind mapping, right?
Okay,
So
yeah.
you create a little circle, you put your business in the center of that, and you say, what are all the impacts? What are all the different impacts to my business? And you say, what does that mean to me? And what are the second and maybe third level impacts to my business?
Okay.
And we use a couple different words that we use to look at what are the driving forces. And the one that I like to use is STEEP. So STEEP stands for social, and T stands for technological, E stands for the environment, E stands for economics, and P stands for political or law. That's STEEP, S-T-E-E-P.
Okay.
And we put those around on this future wheel, and then we say, what does it mean? So for instance, I was working with financial planners, and we were using this model, and they said in the political law space, it looks like in Australia there might be a new law coming into effect where we can't phone customers.
Oh, okay.
And so we had to say, well, what's the implications of that?
Right.
And
so
what
you use your wheel for that.
use the wheel for that, yeah, the
Okay.
Futures wheel, yes.
Fantastic. Thank you so much. And if we want to find out more about your work and how you do things, we can go to your website, which
Yes,
is
www.futuretrendsgroup.com.
Okay, terrific. Craig, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you.
Thank you.